So what does real accountability look like? Does it look like impeaching Joe Biden in the House and then the Senate tabling it like they're going to do with the Merrick Garland impeachment? Or does it mean providing real criminal referrals to the Department of Justice? I think the latter. And I believe that the best path to accountability is criminal referrals.
All right, that was James Comer finally admitting what we have always known to be true. His baseless impeachment probe into President Biden is, in fact, baseless, and Republicans simply don't have the votes.
It ends not with a bang, but with a whimper.
Damn! Stop! He's already dead.
It is only fitting that the final nail in the Republican impeachment coffin be hammered home by the man who at every turn has exposed this sham for what it was. Well, a sham. Did I already say sham? Sham.
Last week, ex-Giuliani associate Lev Parnas drove another nail into that coffin when he appeared as a witness for the Democrats. The very person tasked with digging up dirt on Joe Biden testified there is no evidence of Biden family corruption in Ukraine. He said the accusations against Biden came from Russia and were knowingly false and spread by Giuliani, his associates, and other Trump allies.
You have things like Comer saying, now they've moved from, we want to hear Biden testify, and, either way, we're just going to recommend some criminal liability over onto the Justice Department in the hopes that Trump wins and takes it up. Like this. It's diabolical.
A criminal referral requires a crime. If they'd found a crime, they would be impeaching him for it. They didn't find any crime. Mm-hmm. The only crimes we've identified are by their own witnesses all over the country. I mean, one of the guys is a Chinese intelligence asset who's on the run from American justice. And then, of course, the whole thing started with this guy, Alexander Smirnov, who just repeated lies that were being told by Rudy Giuliani. And we got Rudy Giuliani's right-hand man, Lev Parnas, to come in to say they did everything they could all over Europe, all over the world to find some dirt on Joe Biden, and they couldn't find it because there's nothing there. And Parnas, who was, Giuliani's alter ego, said it's time to call off the whole wild goose chase.
After Republican Chair James Comer quietly tried to admit defeat in the evidenceless effort to impeach President Biden, I think he hoped that he could scurry back into the abyss, praying that the smokescreen that is the chaos of his own party protect him from reproach.
Well, what's so crazy about this is there's this counter effort being made to try to sell the American public on the idea that you guys haven't found anything. And I think we're dealing here with actual living, breathing business partners testifying on the contrary, to quite an extent. So what do you liken this to? Is this Garland just trying to be a human shield for the president? Like, what is this?
Well, Garland's working with the deep state, who's working with the liberal mainstream media to try to indoctrinate into people's minds that there's no evidence.
But Jamie Raskin had other plans. The head of the Democratic Oversight Committee made sure to reiterate that this admission has been apparent from the get-go, but somehow didn't stop Republicans from wasting countless time, and yes, taxpayer dollars, on this impeachment hearing.
While there is this quest for accountability from Donald Trump, you have this entire sideshow that is going on with House Republicans. Finally, it seems Representative Comer is admitting that he has no evidence in his impeachment inquiry into President Biden, though he has invited President Biden to testify in an impeachment probe. I'm not certain how both things can be true at the same time. Riddle me that. Your sense, is this finally headed towards its ultimate dead end?
Yeah, I mean, it ends not with a bang, but with a whimper. I think they're calling for Joe Biden to come testify and invited him. I think I would recommend that he RSVP no to that. I mean, there have been, 20 witnesses who've come in. Each one is supposed to be the star witness, the breakthrough witness, and they always turn out to be a Chinese spy, a Russian spy, a guy who's in prison testifying from behind bars because he has defrauded Indian tribes out of tens of millions of dollars. And none of them has laid a glove on Joe Biden because he hasn't done anything wrong. And that has been the overwhelming weight of the evidence. So I think this is the most colossal and spectacular failure in the history of congressional investigations. And it's an absolute embarrassment to the GOP. And I think it's one of the reasons that all these Republicans are headed for the exit, including most recently Ken Buck and Representative Gallagher. They've said they've had enough. They're down to a 1-vote margin. It's quite plausible if we get one Republican to, change his or her baseball cap, that we could end up in the majority before this the wreckage of a Congress is over.
It is that what you just described is it's just such a crazy scenario, but it's true. Literally, there's one sane Republican in the House of Representatives. Knock on the Democrats' door when y'all get back, and perhaps we could see a Speaker Jeffries sooner than later. You know, Congressman, you made the point that that whether Donald Trump goes to trial and is convicted before or after, it doesn't matter because the people will be able to see it. But there's a real chance that Donald Trump could win re-election. I think the Biden campaign has more money. The Biden campaign has a better message. They definitely have a better candidate, a better record to run. Like they've done real tangible things for the American people, from internet access to expanding child care, infrastructure week that happened. Donald Trump was promising it for 4 years, still ain't seen it under him, but Joe Biden brought us infrastructure week. But even still, there are people out there supporting Donald Trump. And so what happens if, in fact, he wins when you have things like Comer saying, they've moved from, we want to hear Biden testify, and, you know, either way, we're just going to recommend some criminal liability over onto the Justice Department in the hopes that Trump wins and takes it up. Like this is diabolical.
A criminal referral requires a crime. If they'd found a crime, they would be impeaching him for it. They didn't find any crime. Mm-hmm. The only crimes we've identified are by their own witnesses all over the country. I mean, one of the guys is a Chinese intelligence asset who's on the run from American justice. And then, of course, the whole thing started with this guy, Alexander Smirnov, who just repeated lies that were being told by Rudy Giuliani. And we got Rudy Giuliani's right-hand man, Lev Parnas, to come in to say they did everything they could all over Europe, all over the world to find some dirt on Joe Biden, and they couldn't find it because there's nothing there. And Parnas, who was, Giuliani's alter ego, said it's time to call off the whole wild goose chase.
And he reminded the American people that it's been such a colossal failure that countless Republicans have not only distanced themselves from it.
And we were warned at the time that we received the document outlining this witness's testimony. We were warned that the credibility of this statement was not known. And yet people, my colleagues, went out and talked to the public about how this was credible and how it was damning and how it proved President Biden's, at the time, Vice President Biden's complicity in receiving bribes. It appears to absolutely be false and to really undercut the nature of the charges.
But quit their party altogether.
Now I'm going to move to an area which might be a little tricky for a House Republican like yourself. Mike Gallagher leaving next month. Congressman Ken Buck, he says it's dysfunction. He's gone. The majority is down to just one. Seems like Republicans are in complete disarray. You can't do anything.
When lifelong Republicans can no longer recognize the GOP.
Mike Johnson's ability to talk me into staying here is going to be about as successful as his ability into talking me into unconstitutional impeachments.
How can anyone envision entrusting this party and their cult leader who spewed, 70 plus unhinged posts on Easter, including promoting a video that depicted Biden bound and gagged to run the country?
In the House, Congressman, you think things are good for the Republican Party?
I think that we get along better than most people would think. I think that, look, I try to...
You understand why I'm asking, right? Kevin McCarthy abandoned you, Ken Buck abandoned you, and Mike Gallagher just announced on Friday that he's going to resign on April the 13th. You got a one-vote majority. What's going on in the House?
Well, I don't know why Kevin left, and I'm not sure I know why Ken or Mike left, or Mike's leaving and Ken left. I don't know why they're leaving. I don't think it's because of necessarily the things going on in the House, because they all three of them knew we had a really thin majority anyways, 4-seat majority. Now it's down to one. There's just a few things left that we were going to need to do, like FISA reform that has to be done. And we're told that we're going to get a floor vote on that, amendments. There's going to be consideration probably of some kind of supplemental. The question is, will we do it the way Mike did it the first time, which was the right way, where you actually pay for your supplemental?
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
This is merely a precursor for what would and will come to fruition if he's given a second term. That and the mere possibility of, a nationwide abortion ban, Muslim ban that he's already touted, mass deportations, and of course, who can forget tax cuts for the 1% at the expense of everyday Americans.
You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in. Now that's what we're going through right now.
But hey, can you believe that Biden wore hokas? I mean, the scandal, right?
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.